Hey folks, from executive producers Mike Judge and Alec Berg, the Emmy-nominated comedy series Silicon Valley is back for its 4th season. Sundays at 10 p.m. on HBO. Entertainment Weekly slate and variety have called Silicon Valley one of the best comedy series on television. And this season, change is in the air as the Pied Piper guys pursue their video chat app, Piper Chat. Join them as they fumble along the road to success and attempt to leave their mark. Sundays at 10 p.m. only on HBO. Also, don't forget, you can pre-order the new WTF book, Waiting for the Punch, Words to Live By from the WTF podcast. Go to markmaronbook.com or use the book link at WTFpod.com to get the book, to pre-order the thing. And if you want to get an advanced copy of the book, come see me at the BookCon in New York City on June 3rd. Go to thebookcon.com for tickets. Okay, let's do it.
Lock the gate!
All right, let's do this. How are you, what the fuckers, what the fuck buddies, what the fucking ears, what's happening? I'm Mark Maron. This is WTF, my podcast. It probably sounds a little different, right? It sounds different to me, and it feels different as well. You know why? Because I'm recording not at my house. I'm not at my garage. Do you want to know why? Because the electricity is out here in Los Angeles. Do you want to know why? I guess because it got windy. Yeah, that must be it. It got windy out, and my entire neighborhood has no electricity. And I'm actually recording this a couple of days early because I'm going out on the last leg of my tour, heading into my special, which will be recording in Minneapolis on Saturday night, day after tomorrow, if you're listening to this on Thursday. Oh, and by the way, on Thursday I'm in Milwaukee, and on Friday I'm in Madison, Wisconsin, and on Saturday, Minneapolis. And there might be some tickets left for that second show of my taping at the Pantages in Minneapolis. There's actually, between me and you, there's actually tickets left for Milwaukee and Madison as well. I don't know why. I've been doing really well with the sales, selling out almost everywhere, but something about Wisconsin, no go on that. I'm just telling you, all right? I'm just telling you, this is not a Hail Mary pass. This is not desperation. If you are in Minneapolis on Saturday or Madison, Wisconsin on Friday or Milwaukee, Wisconsin on Thursday, come see me perform if you'd like to do that. It's a reasonably priced ticket. I don't know what it is, but I know it's not a pricey ticket. And again, go to the source. Go to the venue's website. Don't just Google Mark Maron tickets Milwaukee, because then a scalper site will come up and you'll say, holy shit, $12,000 for center row orchestra? That seems steep. Who does Mark fucking think he is? No, that's not the way. Oh, I just heard the chair roll. All kinds of new sounds because I'm in a different location. I'll tell you where I'm at in just a second, but first I'll tell you who's on the show. I have 2 musical guests. Neither one of them will be playing music, but we will be talking about music. Here's the deal. Mark Lanegan, who you know from the Screaming Trees and from his solo work, arguably one of the greatest rock singers of the last 2 decades. I've always loved Mark Lanegan. I've not listened to everything he's ever done, but great voice. So when I got the opportunity to interview Mark Lanegan, I was like, hell's yeah. So I talked to Mark Lanegan. Then last week, I get an opportunity to talk to Mac DeMarco. Now, Mac DeMarco, I'm new to. I don't know where I got his records, but I got a few of the records, and I was like, this is weird. This is kind of soft and interesting and kind of unique. There's some songwriting chops here, and there's some guitar chops, and it's got a weird production values. But my first thought is like, I don't usually like music like this, but I'm sort of interested in this guy. I was interested in him as a person and where that music comes from. And then all of a sudden I get an opportunity to interview Mac DeMarco. So he came over. So we're splitting up this episode between Mac DeMarco and Mark Lanegan. Pretty interesting, huh? How's it sounding in here? Because this is not a sound garage. I'm in a painter's garage. I'm in Sarah Kane, abstract painter, girlfriend garage, surrounded by paint. Just paint everywhere. Right to my right, There's a palette of, I don't know what you call it, several different palettes with all kinds of colors on it. And underneath it, there's just a slab of plastic with paint and goop on it. There's goop everywhere, paints. There's paintings on the wall in different phases of completion. But this is where real work gets done. More than just talking. There's an entire one of those cabinets that things on paper go into, and on top of it, there's like 1,000 brushes in painty cups and canisters. There's honey, which I do not think is used for the paintings. I think that's probably a tea item. There's a airbrush thing. Holy shit. I don't think I've ever looked around her studio before, and I'm a little intimidated because I don't know the difference between these brushes. There's like at least 8,000 different kinds of brushes. I've obviously decided that large numbers are hilarious, and I'm just going to keep saying large numbers over and over again. Oh, look, here's a box of 1 million beaded things that go. Sometimes she sews into canvases, and this is like, oh, here's a container of what is that? Floetrol. Let's give a shout out to Floetrol. That is latex paint additive. Eliminates brush and roller marks. Floetrol for all you painters. It's also in Spanish. Aditivo para pinturas atléticas. I don't think I said any of that right. So that, I don't know what that does. And then this is, what are these? What's in here? Staples. I know what staples do. I know how to use a stapler. Yep. I'm on top of something here. But there's a lot of works in progress here. It's all very exciting. She's sitting on the couch. Painters don't live like regular people. They have these spaces. This used to be a garage, kind of. And then, and now there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5 huge canvases on the wall. And then there's a thing that she hangs from for yoga, which I think if it were, if I didn't know better, I'd be like, that's an interesting piece. I like how you integrated the yoga blanket into the rope things and hung it like that. And then you'd say, no, that's for that kind of yoga. And I'm like, what do you got to ruin it for? Why can't I just accept the art for what it is? But there's a lot of things going on in here. And, oh, here's a pencil sharpener. I kind of want to sharpen a pencil just for the sound. Yeah, I don't know where the pencils are. There's a lot of paint and stuff. Oh, here's one. Do you remember the sound of a pencil sharpener? When was the last time it happened? Hold on. Wait a minute. Oh, that's fun. It's really sharp. And now you know what's going to happen is one more punch in, I'll knock the lead out, and then I'll have to start all over, which is really the fun part of sharpening pencils, is when you just can't stop sticking the pencil in, and you fuck it up every time, and then your teacher goes, stop it, or I'm going to bring the hand one back. Are you old enough to remember the hand cranky pencil sharpeners with the several different hole options on the side? Someone asked me the other day, they're like, did she ever let you paint? And not only has she not let me paint, but I never asked her to paint, never thought about painting. Why not just say, hey, Mark, how'd you like to feel like an idiot in front of your girlfriend, the painter, and ask her if maybe you could have some brushes and a little palette of 4 colors. Just fool around, just have some fun. Just have some fun in the painter studio like a 7-year-old and be encouraged like that. That's very creative. Now, what happens when you mix those 2 colors together? Look it's a whole new color. Oh, good job, Mark. Can I paint on a canvas? No, just use another piece of paper. Canvases are expensive and take time. She's doing a lot of shit over here that I don't know fucking anything about. Just come over here and see these things in different phases of completion. I don't see what's going on in here, but it's very professional. This one over here is like 20 feet tall, or maybe 30. Is it still funny? The numbers, the exaggerated numbers. Is that Is that wearing thin? Folks, it's time to experience TV, movies, and music with sound you can feel from a speaker you'll hardly notice. It's time to get Playbase from Sonos. Get ready for a new sonic experience. Playbase has a low-profile design, which means it pretty much disappears beneath your TV. You'll barely know it's there until you hear it in action when it gives you epic home theater sound. From movies and sports to TV shows and gaming, Playbase adds dynamic, pulse-pounding sound to whatever's playing on your TV. And when you're not using your TV, Playbase can still stream your favorite music. Plus, it was created for TVs that sit on stands and furnitures. No wall mount required. In fact, one power cord and one optical cord is all it takes. You don't even have to read the manual. The Sonos app guides you through every step of the setup. I've been watching movies with my Playbase on, and everything sounds like it would in a theater. Everything sounds better on Playbase. See for yourself and go to Sonos.com to learn more. That's Sonos.com. Yeah, dig it. So, Mac DeMarco, I got to be honest with you, the agenda of this, and I've listened to his records, and I was sort of intrigued, but it seemed to me that the undercurrent of what I was trying to do was trying to get him to explain to me why I like his music so much. Weird, right? I was just trying to track his sources. I was just trying to see where he came from. I was just trying to get a handle on the guy. His new album, This Old Dog, comes out on May 5th. So this is me and Mac DeMarco back in my non-painting garage. It's weird. I don't know you, obviously.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
But I got that album a few years ago, too, and I don't even know where it came from. Like I think
most people, we're kind of like, what the hell is this?
I get sent records, and the cover was sort of like, this guy looks a little dopey somehow. Like, what's he up to with that guitar and the hat? Yeah. Like, you look like a kind of a normal dude.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. Yeah.
Right, and I did not know what to expect from the record, and then I put it on, and I'm like, well, this is there's something going on here. I don't understand what it is, but I'm in.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't. You're very hard to. I can't wrap my brain around it because it seems pretty laid back, but there must be some fury in there somewhere for me.
Yeah, a lot of confusion. Yeah,
for me to to resonate with it. I don't know how to place you, but I guess that's sort of the issue that's good and kind of odd about your trip, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how old are you?
26 now, going on 27 this month.
So you're young. Mm-hmm. You're a young fella.
I hope so. Yeah.
Where'd you come from? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Western Canada, Edmonton, Alberta, home of the Edmonton Oilers. If you're doing okay right now, I don't know that much about hockey, but that's kind of
really not a hockey guy.
Not really, but that's the only point of reference a lot of people have for where.
Yeah, I'm not a hockey guy either, but I performed in Edmonton.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, isn't that where the mall is?
Big mall, yeah. I think it was the largest from 91 to 93.
Right, like the sister mall to the Mall of America.
That's right.
And they have, there's a comedy club in there.
And Reds maybe.
I forget what it was called. I don't know what it was called. But I stayed at a hotel connected to the mall. Actually.
Fantasyland, probably.
Right. Yeah, and I just remember I was on a horse floor, and there were doors where painted horses in their stables.
Yeah, it's a weird place. They have like a life-size Santa Maria like boat copy. They had dolphins when I was a kid.
Like real dolphins.
Yeah, they had like a submarine tour, like skating rinks. It was.
Was it the center of life?
It was. I mean, that's what they wanted it to be, and I think for a couple years, when I was really young or even before, it was like, oh my God, but then by the time I was, like
24.
Yeah, I was like a teenager going. It was just this like relic of the '80s with like greasy brass handrails and like everything was kind of dirty and there were wings that were just shut down.
Did you go there? Yeah. Did you go there in a punk rock way as an older kid just to hang around and cause trouble?
No, I did that close to my. It was too far. It was kind of like I don't know what we'd go over there for. Yeah, it's strange. I knew kids when I was younger that used to live. They had these tunnels underneath the mall that they were going to extend the train because the train system in Edmonton's not so good. They're going to extend the train. Never ended up doing it. So these tunnels were empty and they'd keep some up. This is all, hearsay, but I like to believe it.
Sure.
They kept some of the animals that weren't on display under the mall, and then all these like, runaway raver kids would live with these like penguins, in these like...
That's a pretty good myth.
Yeah, I like it, yeah. Cool.
the raving, the penguin raves, they were called.
Oh, yeah.
No one ever went to one, but everybody heard about
Oh,
them.
yeah, down below. Subterranean penguin rave.
Below the mall.
Uh-huh, yeah.
So you were raised in Edmonton?
Mm-hmm.
And when did you start playing the guitar?
Probably when I was 13 or 14, something like that. I got a musical family.
Really? Like how?
Grandmother is an opera singer. She used to teach at the conservatory.
Like a real opera singer?
Yeah.
Like sings in the big opera?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she was a shredder.
Really?
She still is. She doesn't sing anymore. But,
oh, my God. That's incredible. Like, did she specialize in a certain language?
Tell you the truth, don't know too well. I think she really believed that she was Italian, although it was her husband that was. So I think she
is that where you get the name?
Yeah, exactly. DeMarco.
Okay.
So,
where's she from?
She's. I think she's just Western Canadian as well. I mean, when you look back in any Canadian heritage, it's usually English or French or whatever. So I think that. But
yeah,
she really, I didn't realize till I was older that it was like, because I never met my grandfather, but he was the Italian.
Right.
But she kept on making the lasagna, the spaghetti.
Oh, really?
It was a sham. It was a sham. She used to say she was speaking Italian. Then when I took French immersion, it was like, that's French, Grandma. But
everyone's got to have their dreams.
I know.
You got to. That's kind of sweet though.
Yeah.
But she would sing in Is there a big opera house up there?
Yeah. I think that what is there? What is the something that
you never saw her do it?
I saw her do it on a smaller scale when I was a little older. I saw her in some operas and stuff when I was pretty young too. But.
Like a soprano or like how does that work? Do you understand it?
No, I don't understand it at all. That was the thing I retracted from it as a kid. I was like, I don't want to go on singing lessons. I don't want to go on piano lessons. Let me play my video games and leave me alone.
Yeah.
You know? Then eventually, all the kids on the playground are like, I learned to play this AC/DC riff. I'm like, oh, okay, sick. And they're like, oh, you want music lessons now? Great.
Right.
Let's do it.
So that's when you started with guitar?
Yeah. And then,
AC/DC riff.
Oh, yeah, hell yeah. Oh.
He's the fucking best.
Yeah, yeah.
Angus Young is the best.
Yeah, Angus is cool.
I keep going back to it. I mean, I'm 53.
He's got a great tone. He's got a great vibe. Great showman. The whole band. But
those licks, they're just like it's for a metal dude. It's just blues riffs.
I know.
And
that's vibrato.
Oh, it's
bellissima.
Oh, yeah, that SG man, just cutting.
Yeah.
I listen to it probably every week.
Mm.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah, well, nothing you can do about it.
What's your relationship with Eric Andre?
I went to his birthday party the other night, actually.
You guys are buddies?
Sort of, yeah. I met him a handful of times. It's not like,
Oh, you don't go way back?
No, I mean, we did his show, that was probably 3 years ago or something now. Did that. Was a fan already. Big thing for us. Like, oh, this is crazy. Had a nice time with him then. He did a little thing with us at Coachella last time he played.
Oh, right. Now, I was just told someone who saw it, he played a theremin with a dildo.
Yeah, big, nice, long dildo.
Yeah. How did it sound? Good?
I think maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure. But
Did you ever play with him, though? He's a bass player, I believe.
He is?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
If I'm not mistaken, because I've talked to him, I think he's like Berkeley educated bass player. Like he's like high level.
See, I had no clue.
He bailed on it because he couldn't be as good
as Jaco.
Something like that.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that's cool.
Yeah, now you know that. Now you're going to have to kind of corner him to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it sounds like that your bass guy kind of bounces around a lot.
Yeah, now I've got a real hot player, kid that I grew up with from my hometown, John.
Yeah?
He's one of those,
yeah.
Jaco,
Oh, really?
Oh, he's great. I got some heavy hitters playing with me right now, but I've had a bunch of bass players in the past, so.
So you're there, you're taking guitar lessons, you're learning AC/DC riffs.
Mm-hmm.
You playing in, like, rock bands?
I played in a bunch of bands as a teenager. Mostly, jokey stuff. Maybe a couple bands were
jokey stuff.
When you're a kid and you're writing songs, especially where I'm from, where it's a hockey town. It's very homophobic and a lot of testosterone, and big muscles, and tight Ed Hardy shirts. You're scared.
You're up against it.
You're
like, even if you're not gay, even if you're just fragile.
Exactly.
A sensitive kid.
Yeah.
Going the other way.
So I was scared and wrote some. Stuff like, just having a laugh. And then eventually, by the time I was 17 or 18, started making my own little records in the bedroom.
Were you playing up against those dudes? Were you playing gigs where the hockey dudes would come? Did you have to, was it sort of a Nirvana thing where you're like crafting songs that they didn't know were calling them stupid?
It was, I don't even think they were really, that was kind of the school that I went to. And it was Yeah,
I
but
guess
it's kind of like a blanket mentality over, because we have like a lot of oil, so there's a lot of like dummies that like to work for the oil, don't really, think about what
trucks.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's like Texas up there.
Yeah. But
I
like
guess
cold Texas, so like even crazier.
Yeah. I don't mean to call them stupid. It's just a different way of life.
You can call them that. I don't mind.
Different priorities.
Yeah, straight up.
You know what I mean?
Oh, destroying the planet? Whatever. We're gonna get a new hockey arena downtown next year. It's great. It's
I mean,
morons. Come on.
Exactly. It'll be good if we all die at the same time. Then no one misses anything.
Fuck. Yeah.
So you start playing in bands and you start recording. Now, what's your old man do? Where is he musical too?
He is, I think, in some respect. Plays guitar, kind of. He's a bit of a, I'd say I didn't grow up with him, so I don't really know him very well. So he's out of the pick. But, when he would come around, he'd be like, hey, boy, I got your new harmonica. Like, let's jam on the acoustic. I'd be like, okay, But from definitely more of like, pass the whiskey bottle around the fireplace, play some Neil Young songs, as opposed to like, my grandma, this conservatory stuff. My grandfather was a great sax player as well. So it's
Which grandfather? Your dad's dad?
No,
or
my
DeMarco.
Dad. Yeah, DeMarco. He had a funny story about him actually. I never met him, like I was saying. But he had half his arm amputated because he got cancer. And it was a while, 30 years ago. So they were like, okay, let's get rid of that. So he lost half his arm. Sax player, you need both your arms.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
So what the University of Alberta ended up doing was. They built this socket that goes up on his arm, on his nub. Yeah. Connected to this, all these solenoids on this box. And then the box is connected to some, switches on the keys that he was missing with that left arm. So he was banging his nub around this box. And he could still, they brought the shred back. It's like kind of beautiful. There's a crazy video on YouTube of him,
There is a video of him on YouTube?
Oh, it's great, yeah.
What's his name?
Hank DeMarco, yeah.
And that must look wild.
It's insane, yeah. He's stoked in it, too. I never met the guy, but you just see him and he's like, I'm playing again. Oh, my God, this is so sick. And
did he die before you were conscious?
He died before I was born, yeah. I think a couple
before
of
you were
years,
born?
So.
But they have the video. Did he do it on television?
Yeah, he did, I think it was for some kind of like science show or something. It's like, look at the amazing discoveries,
When's your dad split?
Probably when I was 5 or something like that.
And he went to another city?
No, he was around. It was kind of like he was the holiday parent, It's like, see you then. And his I was sort of involved with his family in some way, like the grandparents. Yeah. We're kind of like, we're gonna, sorry, Ag, here we go. That's my mom, Agnes.
Yeah. Well, go do your bit.
Here, we'll pick the kids up and buy them something. Yeah. So, but they were very sweet people. But
you got brothers and sisters?
I have one little brother, and then I have a half sister who was around for a while when I was a kid. She ended up moving to, she's lived a couple different places. She lives in the mountains in BC now, though. So,
oh, really? That's your dad's kid?
Yeah.
But
she's chill. I'm close with her.
Oh, really?
Did
that all evolve over time, or were you always close?
It was always, I think she was kind of like, because she was a little bit older to deal with some of the madness of, because he bounced on her too, so it was kind of like, okay, kids, like, not this time. Like, let's, so she's very sweet. The reason I guess I'm talking about your dad is because on the one song on the record, the new record, which is called This Old Dog, that first song is some sort of strange recognition of, it seems to be about your dad. Oh, totally, yeah. I think a lot of people have come at it kind of like in a way where, because there is that trope of like, it's happening. Look what I'm becoming. Yeah. And it can be taken in a more, lighthearted way or something like that. But for me, and that's the part the beauty of the pop song part where not everybody knows my history, maybe some of my friends and people, but it's like, but for me, it's like, I'm talking more about like, most of my like, bad shit. The badder shit is right. Like, I don't want to see that. Come on. But people can take it in a soft way too. That's great. But I think that was one of the reasons that the music sort of appealed to me, is that there was something more to it. Even the becoming your dad thing, because I have the same issue where it's very hard to separate. Like, okay, there's got to be some good things about this dude. And like, you obviously have embraced those, the musical taste, the fact that, he was this kind of free-spirited, though irresponsible dude. But there are good things about them. And you're like, I can embrace that. But what do I do with this other shit? Yeah. It's like, it's, just understand. It's a confusing thing, So it's is. And then and then it becomes like, is it inevitable? Exactly, Who knows? Perhaps. Maybe.
Well, I'm twice as old as you almost. It's not inevitable.
Okay.
Because like what I find is that if the old man is either emotionally absent or physically absent, there's this like need to sort of overcompensate and look for some sort of guidance in your brain.
Yeah.
But like if it feels to me that underneath those things, like becoming your dad on either side, there's still an authentic you in there.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing that he like they somehow or another neglected, so we neglect it, and then like, to let that thing out, in the mire of that other shit, of the old man shit.
Yeah.
Tricky, man.
Yeah, it's tricky.
Well, no, it sounds like you got a couple more albums there.
I mean, as well as being about my pops, it is just kind of, I think a lot of this record is because I tour a lot, even though I'm pretty young. We've been on tour for like 5 years straight or something.
Yeah.
You don't get a lot of time to sit
have a
down
life.
and even to think about your own life, regardless of where you're at.
Right.
So, luckily I have these periods where I can think about it and then put it on display for the entire world, which is fine. I'm fine with it, but it's interesting for me.
Yeah.
It's a weird path to take, I suppose. But
yeah, you live a lot, and you have to live a lot in your head.
Yeah.
In terms of creatively.
Yeah.
Because, like, what are you going to write about the bus?
Yeah, I don't think so.
About the other dudes?
Denver last weekend.
There you go.
I don't know about that.
Time for country.
I don't know.
Well, where did you start to, because it seems like just even from the first record, you gravitated towards, were you thinking in terms of making hits? Because it dawned on me, and I don't know if this is bad or good, but it just dawned on me this morning, because I was listening and trying to get caught up. There's not a lot of information about you because you're a child. No, you're young, but like, because like I see John Mayer out and about, trying to establish himself as a monster guitar player after he did those 3 or 4,
Body is a wonder.
Yeah, right.
It's a hit. What can you do?
But that's what I'm saying, right? But like he's got to claw back from that.
Yeah.
In a way, it's sort of like, I don't know if we're all going to accept you as Stevie Ray Vaughan.
I was confused. I remember, when I was a real guitar player kid, I saw him on what is that, like G3 or whatever, like the Eric Clapton Festival.
Yeah, right.
Or like Crossroads or something. I was like, John Mayer? I had no idea. He can shred, but
really
it's confusing. It's like, what?
It's confusing, but there's also that issue of like make bank, which is not easy to do. You got to be pretty talented to make a hit song.
Yeah.
And then like, after you don't have to worry about money ever again, you're going to be like, now I'm going to go play with the guys.
Yeah.
And show and do the real shit.
Yeah.
And some of us guys are sort of like, nah, I don't know.
I think that's what it boils, It's the realness thing, where it's, say for example with John Mayer.
Yeah.
I don't really know that much about his music. I know he
Right.
can shred on the blues guitar. I know he's written these songs, but I mean, maybe he felt real doing it. Maybe he didn't. I don't. It was too far out of the scope for me to ever really pay attention to anyway. But I think it is a funny thing, especially where I'm at with this record, where it's number 3, and it's kind of like, it's not like there's real pressures or anything, but it's like, a lot of bands number 3. It's like bigger sound. Like top 40 appeal. Like, let's do this.
Yeah.
Regardless of if I went some kind of guitar-y way like that John Mayer style, or like went some like synthesizer sexy and instead of and there were moments writing it too where I caught myself, and it's kind of like, do I I'm trying like, okay, I could write this big and it's just like, this is silly, it's silly.
Don't
I feel
do it, right?
I feel ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I feel like a jackass trying to do this, and so and then I decided, okay, I'm just gonna write some songs that can be what they gotta be. If there's not any up tempo ones, I don't really give a shit, whatever. But it's a big thing I think about a lot. It's like the realness, real, recognized, real.
Right.
Keeping true, keeping sane.
So you had that moment where you're like, oh, I could turn this. I could make this a hit song in a way. Like you felt that.
I mean, I think I had the concept, and maybe like that, there is that. It's like, oh, it'd be great.
Yeah.
But then I don't think I even have the capacity. I don't think I could make a big evergreen or like big, sexy, huge festival, stadiums. I couldn't do that. I don't think that most people listening aren't going to even think that either, but it's just like, I've seen a lot of, my contemporary people that I see at festivals and stuff trying to jack it up, get the bigger. For me, it's like, I appreciate more people, like Jonathan Richman, for example.
Oh man, I love that guy.
I love him. He's kind of like my
He's your guy?
I love this man. But it's like...
Do you work with him ever?
He's played with us. Like, when we did the Greek Theater, he played with us there. And I've seen him play probably like 20 times since I was a kid. But yeah, but what he's done is like, regardless, he's always going to be this like rock god, legend, road runner. He's in the Modern Lovers, a lot of great albums. But as time has progressed, he's just tried to reel as much back as he can and just keep it. Because the whole thing with him is it's like, the important thing is he's on the stage, there's the crowd, there's like an immediate connection.
I'm hip.
Yeah, and it's like,
That's all of it.
Exactly. And it works great. And not to say that he's not trying anything new, but it's like, he just has these things set up and he knows what he's doing, he knows who he is, and it's just like a fucking beautiful thing. Like, it's really cool.
Well, that like I relate to that because there is something about gunning for authenticity over it's not showmanship, but it's really the opposite. Because I deal with this in comedy when there are guys that put on an act, and then there are guys who are who they are.
Yeah.
And they can't really escape it. There are people that create a persona either consciously or not, and that persona does a show.
Yeah.
And then they leave, and they may be assholes, they may be quiet, they may be socially crippled.
Yeah.
But on stage, that's the thing,
yeah.
And then they go away. All I've been trying to do is make everything about the same level.
Yeah.
So when I show up there, not that much different than talking to you.
Yeah, exactly. It helps to keep you sane, Yeah,
it keeps you sane and also keeps you honest with yourself,
exactly,
if that's what you want.
And it's just, for me, especially, too, it's like, it's funny now with the internet and the way people hone in on things and the way that things are presented, but on a level where it is like human at the show, going up on stage, obviously there's like some lights and stuff. You're like, all right, let's have a good time.
Sure.
But for the most part, I think it's important just to be like, do you know,
right?
And just to.
That's the hardest thing.
I guess maybe for some people, I suppose, but I mean, it can be hard for me too, I guess. But I think, just keeping it.
Yeah,
on the level,
I know what you mean. Because like you have those moments, like you said, when you're writing this record, where you can see an avenue to where you could get away with something, creatively that isn't really you, but would work, and maybe even stick a little harder than just being you.
Could be,
and then you got to live with that.
Mm-hmm. That's what you got to keep in mind. Yeah.
Right. Because there's nothing more satisfying than doing a show and like either something happens that you didn't anticipate that was uniquely organic to that evening that will never happen again.
Yeah.
That's the best thing that can happen to me is like a moment on stage, and I'm like, I did an hour and a half, but that, when I said that one thing, that was the whole show.
Yeah.
Do you ever have that shit?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, our shows are very. It's we barely even practice as a band, so it's kind of like that's the whole show essentially. And we play a lot of the same songs and stuff, but it is like I was saying with Jonathan. Like I like to involve the kids. I like to keep the venues as small as we can, and I like to,
How do you involve them?
Just hey, let's have a t-shirt.
Yeah.
What's up, man? You want to come up here?
Oh yeah,
Just whatever,
When was the first time you saw Richmond? Because I was sort of mildly obsessed with him for a while. Because what you're saying, I think, about his sort of consistency of self. Some people think is sort of like, I don't know what happened to that guy. Like he never did this or he never did that or he doesn't. You know what I mean? He never grew. He stayed where he was. But
I don't know though. I mean, because his career spans. I understand, but you and me probably would say the alternate, right? Where,
no, exactly. Because like it grew. Like he won't do this show, from what I understand. I've wanted to talk to him.
I don't think he
he keeps things pretty simple and pretty close.
Yeah. Well, similar to not want. I don't think he does that much media or press stuff.
Right.
He doesn't really like to fly. He won't have air conditioners in the venue, no monitors on the stage. He mixes him and Tommy from the stage. I had these people, the people that deal with us in Brazil also take care of Jonathan.
In Brazil?
Yeah. And there's this guy, Bruno, that is a good friend of ours and a friend of Jonathan's. But regardless of how far the venue is away from the hotel, Jonathan needs to walk there.
Right.
He'll have his guitar, his little book, he's writing stuff down. But, if it's like 20 miles away, it's like, okay, I'll just come pick me up at the hotel at 5 a.m.
Right.
We'll get there for sound check. But it's just, he takes the bus a lot and drives in like a little sedan to a lot of the show. It's just like, he's doing him. He's happy.
Right. He's a little eccentric, but true to himself.
Oh, yeah.
That's the deal.
Yeah. Also, you start spending money on baloney, especially when you're touring a lot. You're not going to make any money.
Right.
So he's got that down too.
So what were your influences, though? Because your guitar playing is pretty astounding. What was it that turned, like, who was your guys, like, outside of Angus, where you kind of got this kind of lyrical, sweet style of guitar playing? Like, what were you listening to that compelled you?
I don't know.
I guess, you a Jerry Garcia guy?
I love, well, that was more recent. Well, I mean, I guess before I started doing, like, the Mac DeMarco records, I had other CDs and stuff that I put out, and I was going, it was more of like a bigger. It was
what are those bands' names?
That band was called Makeout Video.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, which was just me on one guitar, so I had to fill it out, and it was kind of more. It was like kind of like a Keith Richards thing, like open tuning.
Oh yeah,
trying to fill it out, but if you have it open, then you can kind of do some melodic stuff as well as keep the chords going. So
are those available? Those CDs? Those
they're
records?
all on Bandcamp if you look it up.
Oh, they are. Okay, I gotta check that out.
And then, but as soon as I did the Mac, I think when I did that 2 record that you were talking about, I'd been listening a lot to, and not records that I had discovered at the time, but just for some reason, I think as I've gotten older, it's like my ear for especially production stuff. And you pick certain things out. But I was listening to a lot of the band, so like Robbie Robertson's playing, or even Neil Young's playing. Yeah, that kind of stuff. And also just a lot of classic rock radio. I was kind of afraid of guitar solos for many years. Like, oh, it's too cheesy. I don't want to touch it.
Oh, really?
But then you listen to, I was working at a grocery store, and it was on, Shome is the classic rock station in Montreal all night, every night. It's kind of like, this is dope.
Sure, man. Yeah, like after that second verse, lay it out.
Yeah, just shed for a little bit, So it was kind of comical for me at first, but then around the time I did the last EP before this record, it's called Another One.
I have that one. That's good too.
Got really into Jerry's playing though.
The cover of that rock and roll nightclub thing, you and the lipstick and stuff. Was there? Do you do? Because like it's weird. There's like there's the cover of 2, which is just like you and your beat up cool guitar, and then the rock and roll nightclub seems like you're like when I looked at that record versus the one with you with the fishing, like where you're sitting there by a lake, or whatever. I don't know what's going to be on the cover of this one. But that seemed like when I saw that, I'm like, what is this guy up to? Is there a theme here? Am I like, is this a different, like maybe I'm reading too much into it because I didn't know much about you. And then your Twitter feed, wasn't your Twitter feed pretty raunchy?
It's all over the place.
Right. So I'm trying to this was years ago when I first got the record. I'm like, let me get a sense of this guy because the music's so sweet. And I go on your Twitter feed, I'm like, this guy's a fucking animal. What's happening? I can't pull them together in my head.
You got to confuse the internet. People only stick around for a couple minutes. If you don't confuse them, make them double take, then they're gone.
It's like this guy's writing like sweet jazzy music, and he's like this animal,
just a little
dirty animal
turd. Yeah.
No,
but with Rock and Roll Nightclub, like you were saying, I mean, it is kind of compared to I had the stuff I did before that. Yeah, and Rock and Roll Nightclub was like the first Mac DeMarco whatever. Okay, so all the stuff was just me recording everything, but it's like that was my name or whatever. Yeah. But it was like a lot of those songs on there are like I slowed everything down, tried to sing like Elvis. It's just like ridiculous.
And then it had almost like a Zappa vibe with the recurring comedy bits, right? Was that the one with the radio channel, the DJ
and stuff like that?
Yeah.
So it's it was just I made that just out of complete. I wasn't really doing my old band anymore. Living in Montreal, didn't have a lot going on.
Not the Makeout Video, you mean?
Yeah, kind of hadn't done anything with that for a while. Made those songs by I was trying to write Ramones songs, like real fast power poppy, like power chord.
Sure, yeah.
And I suck at it, like I found out. But if I turned it all, slowed it way down on the tape machine, then I was like, oh, what's this? So, and then sang like really low and just wrote like really, I'm writing about like leather boots and like motorcycles and stuff, like stuff I don't have any idea about, but I attach with rock and roll for some reason. So,
and some of your heroes were that.
Yeah, sure. So it's like, and then, luckily for me, that's the one, or funnily enough too, that's the one that the labels were like, oh, okay. So my record label's like, we're signing you up. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. What label's that?
Capture Tracks out of New York.
All these jazz progressions and things. All this sweet music. Like, who's in your audience? What kind of kids are you attracting?
They get younger and younger now, but I don't know. I mean, I get all. It's funny, especially you're talking about the Jerry Garcia stuff. As soon as I put like in the gatefold of Salad Days, there's a like the Dead logo flag, and it's in my room. And as soon as that was in the album art, it was just like we'd play in a smaller town or something. There'd be a dude like, "Hey man, saw that saw that flag. Like, you like the Dead? And I'm like, they'd wait for all the younger fans to leave and then be like,
right,
let's talk. Yeah,
like,
yeah. Okay. But it's interesting. I mean, my crowd is kind of. I mean, I get like a lot of people, all shapes and sizes and any age or whatever, but
not metalheads.
No, probably not metalheads. No, but
and not. Do you have the sort of like jock element?
Sometimes like the frat boy,
yeah,
the frat boy, which is kind of terrifying because it's like I didn't want to play for you guys. Power to anybody though. Anybody can listen. I'm not trying to be exclusive or anything. But.
Well, maybe you find something in them. Maybe that's a good indication. Maybe you've shaken something loose.
Maybe, hopefully,
make that guy a sweet guy.
Yeah, hopefully.
They're not all bad. They're just doing what they think they ought to do to fit in.
They're just confused.
We're all trying to fit in.
Yeah, but lately it's been the fans, and I in my experience of going to shows and being younger, I really appreciated it when bands, even in my hometown or Vancouver or Montreal, would do all ages shows.
Yeah.
And, keep it, kind of like Ian Mackay, Minor Threat, whatever.
Sure.
So it's important to me to do all ages shows, and, the younger fans are they're definitely the craziest. But we do it, but we just keep getting.
You do all ages shows.
A lot,
yeah.
A lot. But the kids are, they're nuts. We have like a lot of times we'll be playing and the whole first 3 rows are like 15-year-old kids. I'm like, this is.
Oh, really?
Crazy. It's great, but it's
they're just like, you can feel that they're not fully formed.
No. And I like to crowd surf at the shows, and like when you have people that young that haven't been to a show with crowd surfing before, especially not the lightest guy anymore compared to even a couple of years ago. I'm like crushing these little kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel bad, but I think they like it. I don't know. But
Sure. It's part of it. It's part of the.
He crushed me.
Yeah. I hurt my hand.
Yeah.
So you're touring with a full band now.
Yeah. It's changed a little bit. We've kind of had a similar setup for the last since 2 came out, I guess. So years ago, 5 or 6 years ago. A couple guys have left, but it's still we got a guy named John on the bass, my friend Joe on the drums, my friend Andy on lead guitar.
Yeah.
I do a couple things here and there, and then we just added my old friend that grew up in my block in Edmonton.
The bass player?
No, he's the new keyboardist.
So you're keeping the local guys going.
You got to keep it local.
Yeah. So is your folks still in Edmonton?
My mom is. Yeah, she still in the house I grew up in.
Okay.
She kind of bounces. She was down here for a little while and kind of all over the place.
And the old hippie?
Old hippie's out there somewhere, yeah. Gives me a call every once in a while.
Oh, really?
Hey, I heard your song about me, kid. I'm like, hey, man, how you doing?
Did he say that?
Uh-huh.
And what do you think?
I was like, wait till you hear the rest, buddy.
Is that the one that's getting airplay?
I think it's that one and the dog song. Those are the 2 that are out right now.
So where are you touring now? What's the plan?
In May, it starts for the whole year. So it'll be Europe.
Really?
Europe here, then like Asia.
How's Europe
Australia
for you?
I love it. Yeah, I think.
But do they like you?
Most places.
Uh-huh.
I think guitar music does a little bit stranger in say places countries like Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Like I liked your clothing, but your music, no, it's not for me. It's like, why did you come? I don't.
Where do you get the best draw?
The UK probably is I think it's one of the Southern California is crazy for us. New York can be crazy, but the kids in Southern Cal, there's a big community of young kid. They like Burger Records and stuff like that. They're really into it. So that's good. And then the UK is between that and maybe Buenos Aires is really crazy for us. And then
really, how does that happen? Is it airplay or what?
I don't really know. I bet I always think of that story. Like the story of the Ramones. They're playing at CBGB's in New York. Then they go down there. They're playing a fucking arena. Yeah. Which we're not playing anything that big, but it's the shows are at least as big as we do in New York or LA or even bigger. And the kids down there, it's the one night of the year where you get to feel like the Beatles. They're like, ah! And it's oh my God. There's people waiting outside the hotel all night. It's
that's wild.
You're really weird, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah. But the UK, the kids
solid.
in the UK they're great.
And you played with the Japandroids?
Long time ago. Yeah.
I like those guys.
Nice guys, yeah. Canadian guys.
Good
Vancouver
band,
boys,
yeah.
They were on my first record label when I was 19 or 20.
Oh, yeah.
So, first tour I ever went on, they were kind of like, hey,
they rock pretty hard.
Yeah, they rock hard.
Yeah. Now, outside of Richmond, have you gotten to play with any of your other heroes or met them?
we do a lot of festivals nowadays, so we've got to see a lot of people. Say like we saw Neil Young at Roskilde Festival this year. That was amazing.
Did you meet him?
Tried.
Oh yeah.
Met the sound guy's son. He gave me the backstage pass, and we tried to go up to the stage, and they were like, "No." Okay. But it was great. He played "Keep on Rockin'" for like I think 40 minutes or something.
Sure. And he was rocking.
Oh hell yeah, dude.
Yeah. Doing those solos.
Yeah, that was amazing. I did meet one of my heroes recently.
Who?
Went for lunch with Michael McDonald,
the singer.
Yeah, that was incredible. Long, strange story of how we got hooked up, but
he's on Thundercat's new record.
Yeah, because he's like kind of your classic collaborator guy, and he always has been. So
Doobie Brothers.
Oh yeah, but I think he's been checking out some newer contemporary stuff, and the stuff he did with Thundercat is insane. Him and Kenny too. It's like,
yeah, it's insane. That record's insane.
It's amazing. Yeah,
I just got it.
Yeah,
I listened to it yesterday.
It's really good.
It's Michael McDonald. See that area of music for me.
Yeah.
Like, he's one of your guys. Like, you like that guy.
I love it. Yeah, I love it.
Do you like the Doobie Brothers?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I grew up with that shit. Mm-hmm. Like, when I was in 7th grade, like, Black Water was a huge hit. Mm-hmm. You remember that song? Oh, Black Water, keep on rolling, Mississippi. Yeah. It's like a big Doobie Brothers.
Is that pre-Michael, though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, they were around. China Grove,
yeah,
Black
totally.
Water. Like,
a lot of my friends, or I have this one friend, his dad is always like, Michael McDonald ruined the Doobie Brothers.
Right, and they were with Skunk Baxter a little bit too.
Yeah.
But yeah, Michael McDonald came in and made those. What was his big Doobie Brothers hit?
What a Fool Believes.
Yeah,
and they had Minute by Minute.
Yeah, Minute by Minute.
Amazing.
It's so funny, man.
I love it.
You love it.
I love it.
That's where it comes from.
Yeah, I love that kind of. It's a newer thing for me. Not new, but like, say like Steely Dan. I love Steely Dan. I love stuff like that. But there is,
you might just be my bridge, because like because I find your music enjoyable and palatable, right? But like, I struggle with Steely Dan.
Oh yeah, a lot of people do, and I understand. And the way that I feel about it is, say I listen to Neil Young or something, or Joni Mitchell or the band or something, and what I get from that is like is a real emotional response, Or
sometimes it's there, you can feel the personality.
Yeah, there's something
in between them.
There's something there.
Yeah,
and with some of Michael's stuff, but the Steely Dan in particular, it almost like very rarely do I get any kind of emotional response
exactly.
from it. It's just like, New York, guys just being like, yeah, we're like making these jokes that nobody understands, and it's kind of like,
it's like production math.
Well, exactly, but that's the there is, for me, it's more about just listening like, oh my God, like, oh, listen to that Steve Gadd feel like, it's just like, it's like almost like porn or something. So there it is. You just kind of got to let it be what it is.
But see, that's exactly the trip, man, because it is almost antithetical to what we were talking about at the beginning.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
That raw authenticity that people like Joni or Neil or the band, when they're together, they can't avoid it.
No.
I mean, it's what makes them amazing outside of being amazing musicians. But there's a lot of room for messiness.
Oh yeah. Not with Steely, though.
No, fuck no, and not with the Doobie Brothers either.
Yeah.
It's like it's almost it exists in this weird chamber that is like not devoid of rawness, but kinda.
Oh yeah, it's like, just session musicians, just completely.
And you get off on like that precision of sound.
Sometimes it's almost like if I found it comical in a way, where it's like. Because some of that Steely Dan stuff is so, whether it's the lyrics or the playing or the sound, so ridiculous.
Right.
And it's like, and to have something like that become it's like pop fusion jazz, Mm-hmm. I love Steely. They got nothing bad to say about them, but it is a lot of the time hilarious music.
But the thing is, it's like it's ear candy to some people. It's almost like the sort of compression of it and the production of it.
Yeah.
That's what really turns people. Is that precision of sound is like they just, it's like crack to them.
Yeah,
and they're real passionate about it.
Mm-hmm.
And like I don't dismiss them as being mediocre or shitty. It's just really like either you like it or you don't.
Well, yeah, it's I think a lot of, especially people that are like looking for people that like the highest quality in things, you know.
Right, and they don't want they don't want to be anxious.
Yeah,
they don't want to be challenged necessarily.
It's very.
Well, it's great talking to you.
Yeah,
and now you're going to show me that scale.
Yeah, I can show it to you. No problem.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, God bless.
Mac DeMarco, I think we found some of the keys to what makes his sound like it does, and it's still unusual that I like him so much. That's not passive aggressive. I'm just I'm baffled, but I like him, and his records are great. We're sponsored today by Texture, an app that gives you access to your favorite magazines, investigative journalism, and important news. With Texture, read everything right from your phone, anytime, anywhere. Magazines like Vanity Fair, Rolling Stone, Fast Company, and so many more. And the Texture app has gone beyond delivering just the magazine itself. They've made it easy to find and enjoy the articles you want to read with daily recommendations, exclusive interactive features, videos, and more. Texture is normally $9.99 a month, and you get over 200 magazines. But if you sign up right now at texture.com/Maron, you get a 14-day free trial. Just cram your head with information. Why subscribe to just a couple of magazines when you can have all of your favorites on your smartphone or tablet all of the time? Why? It was one of Apple's top 2016 iPad apps. See why by starting your free trial today. That's 14 days to try Texture for free. Did I mention it's free for 14 days? When you go to texture.com/Maron. Put a newsstand in your pocket, support a free press, and never be without something great to read ever. That's texture.com/Maron. All right? Mark Lanegan, man. Mark Lanegan. Heavy, man. Deep. Lanegan. What a great singer. As a solo artist and with the Screaming Trees. Do you remember those first two Screaming Trees records? Or I think they were actually the first two I heard. They're probably like the fourth and fifth Screaming Trees record, but big voice, and I loved his first solo record. But he's done a lot of stuff, and I was excited to meet him and hang out with him in the garage. So his new album from the Mark Lanegan Band is called Gargoyle. It comes out tomorrow, April 28th, and this is me and Mark Lanegan having a conversation. The Copenhagen thing, so you grew up with it, so you're one of those guys who could just take a pinch and boop, right in there.
Well, eventually. I mean, the first time I did it, I got really sick.
Well, that's the thing that gets you. It's funny with Copenhagen and heroin. Never a great experience first time out, but for some reason the guys that commit, they'll ride that out.
Yeah, well, I should have gotten sick the first time I did heroin, but that didn't happen, so I did it many, many more times before started working against me.
Well, so that was not that worked out too well the first time.
Indeed.
But you're still alive.
Somehow, against all odds.
But I mean, like, what in order to dip as a kid, you got to live a certain life. I mean, where'd that start? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in a small town in central Washington, which is like mainly farming, ranching.
Near Spokane or no?
Right between Spokane and Seattle, right in the exact center of the state.
So like Washington, like it always strikes me as beautiful, but there's a sort of creepiness at the core somewhere.
Well, I once read that most serial killings happen in Washington and Florida, in the corners of the
really
country.
Yeah, people hit the edge. Literally, and they're like, I guess I got to go back in and do some bad work. I've gone as far as I can go geographically within the confines of this country. Now I got to go make my mark.
Yeah, I mean, Ted Bundy did damage in both states. He actually killed somebody in my hometown.
Really?
Yeah, I remember when I was a little kid at Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
There was a flyer on the wall for a missing girl. She turned out to be one of his victims.
Oh, you remember that that was one of those things.
Yeah.
That first time you see something like that as a kid, it kind of burns its way in there.
Yeah, I mean, apparently something else burned its way into Ted Bundy himself.
Yeah, that's for sure.
As a kid, but
well, what did you grow up on a farm?
No, but I grew up in the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what'd you do out there? Just
wish that I was somewhere else.
the whole time?
Pretty much, yeah.
Big family?
No, small.
Yeah.
Just me and my mom and dad and my sister.
That was it? Was he a farmer?
No, they were school teachers.
Oh, that's noble.
I guess.
No, is the memories too polluted by other things to?
Yeah, man, it's too raw.
Yeah, bad times. And that's what started you rolling, I guess.
I guess so. Yeah, I was the black sheep of the small family.
When did you start doing music?
I used to collect comic books as a kid, and there was a comic book store in my town.
Yeah,
and
thank God for those, right?
Yeah, actually, that saved me because I saw a picture of Iggy Pop on the front of a magazine that he was giving away.
Yeah,
and
because he couldn't sell it, no one wanted it.
I think it was one of those where he cut off half the cover.
Oh yeah, right.
They used to do in the 70s. And
when it was one of those. That means that they didn't sell them; they were going to send them back.
I guess
I think is what they'd get credit. How did that work? They'd cut off the title of the magazine and send those back or something for credit. I don't know, whatever. So it was half a cover of Iggy.
Yeah, and I thought, what's this?
Yeah, who's that guy?
And I asked the kind of older hippie that ran the shop.
Thank God for those guys.
Yeah, naturally.
Yeah.
Who's this? And he said, I have some 45s, and played me. I want to say it was Tight Pants or something.
Uh-huh.
And that's what got me hooked. Within like a couple of days, I'd traded in all my comic books for credit on records. So I listened to, the original, like, Sex Pistols singles. I had those, and The Damned, Stranglers.
From that same shop?
Yeah, from that same shop.
Man.
And then as I got a little older, I started to take the Greyhound bus to Seattle and walk around to different record stores. But I literally didn't know anybody in Ellensburg that listened to that same kind of music for years.
So we're like the same age. So that was a give or take a year. So that was like that time where you really those were the only places you could get it. You needed that one record store, or you needed this weird community of friends that would send you shit from other places, or else you were just locked in mainstream fucking towny music, which isn't bad. There's a lot of good rock and roll around.
Well, in Ellensburg, literally nobody even knew who Jimi Hendrix was that I knew.
Really?
Yeah, it was all, the local radio was, I want to say, country music.
Uh-huh.
But, 70s style, so that
Sure.
wasn't terrible.
Right.
But yeah, the rock thing was really, it was a wasteland.
And we're talking like, what, early 70s, mid 70s?
Mid to late 70s.
And that was, you were like, there's a different world out there. Where's that world?
Yeah, so, I just listened to that stuff in solitude for several years, and then eventually met some guys who were younger than me that...
In Ellensburg?
Yeah, that were into that same kind of music, and they ended up being the guys I was in my first band with.
Which band?
Screaming Trees.
So those guys were all from your hometown?
They were, yeah.
So you knew them growing up?
I actually knew who they were.
The Connor brothers.
Yeah, because it's such a small town. One of my earliest memories, when I still lived in the town, walking to, I want to say like first grade or something.
Yeah.
Seeing this kid sitting in a like wading pool in this front yard, and he smiled at me, and that was man Connor.
Yeah.
I knew who he was my entire life, but didn't really know him until I was 18.
That's kind of weird about like smaller cities or smaller towns. It's like there is just a little bit of distance, but you've seen him around,
Yeah, and these guys were really, physically imposing. Really
big guys.
Really big guys, outside the norm. So
were they twins?
No.
Do people ask that a lot?
Yeah, they used to.
I just remember that first Screaming Trees. Well, not the first one. That was a surprising thing because, like, like the one I heard was the one with the hits on it, the one that became big, and I fucking love that record. But, you guys were at it for a while.
Yeah, I mean, we made, I want to say 4 records in the 80s. So,
yeah.
But we were making them like every 8 months.
So, all right, so you meet those guys in your hometown, and what'd you play? Did you play, or were you just singing?
I was a terrible drummer. I just had like half of a drum kit that some guy had traded me for some weed.
But you were drumming.
Well, they wanted me to, but I was arguably a worse drummer than I was a singer, and I was a pretty bad singer for years.
Really?
Yeah, it took me a while to learn how to do it.
Who were you like initially? Who were you modeling yourself after?
Well, initially I was singing songs that the guitar player for the Trees wrote, and he wrote them, to suit his voice. And he had a much higher voice than me. So
you're shredding your...
I was either like singing really high or singing like 2 octaves lower, which was easier, but also still like completely...
Right.
Not correct.
Not your sweet spot.
Not my sweet spot at all.
Yeah.
We weren't anywhere close to being savvy enough to like change keys on anything. So
right.
For years, literally, I just, tried to find a way to sing stuff.
No one could just write down like, well, these are these 3. Let's just drop them down or move them up or throw a capo on. It's like we're stuck in these.
Dude, we didn't even know how to change the strings on a guitar, really. So
is that true?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. How old were you guys?
I was 20 when we first started, and a couple of the guys were 15, and the older Connor brother was, I want to say 22. 23.
Yeah. So where'd you play? Like, whose garage?
Well, we actually rehearsed in the back of a video store that the Connor family owned.
Oh, yeah?
There was a big room back there. I worked for them in that shop for a while.
You were renting videos? Selling videos?
Yeah, renting them out.
They have an X section?
They did, yeah.
Yeah. That's always helpful.
It was, most popular section.
Sure. I would think up there in the middle of Washington.
Yeah, there wasn't. I think it was probably the only place you could get.
Oh, really?
Videos in our hometown.
So you knew a little bit about the adults in the community.
Well, yeah. Their tastes as far as the
secret keeper.
Right.
Yeah. So you're in the back of the store, you and the fellas, hammering it out.
Yeah. We actually started recording like a month after we first rehearsed, because there happened to be a guy who lived in our hometown that was recording bands, and
had a 4-track or an 8-track?
It was an 8-track.
Yeah.
And we ended up making our first 4 records on that 8-track, like all in maybe 3 years' time.
And who released them?
Well, the first one was released by the guy who recorded it.
Sure.
And then we started making records for SST here in California.
Are they even still around?
Well, I think, he's still selling records, but out of a warehouse in Arizona, I think.
Because that was a pretty important label in its day.
Yeah, I mean, for us it was...
Must have been like, holy shit.
Yeah, it was. It was still like the most exciting thing that's happened to me in 30 years of music.
Getting that first SST deal?
Was getting a phone call from Greg Ginn at SST, which I didn't even believe it was him.
Yeah. Who were they? And you knew all the bands on there, I imagine.
Yeah, we were big Black Flag fans. And
oh, yeah?
We were Husker Du fans, Minutemen, Sonic Youth.
They were all on SST.
They were all on SST. We were on there at the same time as Sonic Youth and Dinosaur. Well, it was completely bizarre from where we were from to, making records for them.
Well, what was that first trip down there like?
Well, we were playing record stores all the way down to California, and that was it. And because there was a guy who worked at SST who was friends with the guy who produced our first record, he came out as a courtesy to see us play.
Yeah.
And that's really how we got hooked up with those guys. He got excited when he saw us play live to like 5 people in a record store in Santa Monica.
Man, bet you don't miss those gigs.
I still play those gigs, Mark. Just not with the band, by myself.
More than 5.
I've played to nobody. If there was a negative audience, I could have played to them.
Well, that's an interesting thing about you. I guess interesting is a diplomatic word probably from your perspective, but I mean, you're one of the great rock and roll singers, and you've done, like, you have an amazing catalog of work, yet how does that happen, Mark? Why are you playing to nobody in a record store?
I don't know how that happens, but it does occasionally.
Fucking music, right?
Yeah. I've played at weddings. I've played at a funeral. I've played everything.
As a to honor somebody, or as a paid gig?
To honor somebody, but both times, wedding and funeral.
Oh, okay. But it wasn't like, man, things are bad, I gotta get a wedding gig.
No, but if somebody offered me one, I would definitely take it.
Would you?
Depending on how low my bank account was at that point.
Well, Light in the Attic did that. They did that beautiful box set, right?
Yeah, they did an anthology, and Sub Pop did a box set like a couple years ago of all my early records.
Yeah.
So.
And do they sell all right?
Well, when Sub Pop released the box set, I finally recouped with them after like 17 years, so I guess it sold something. But
so you're even with Sub Pop?
I'm even with them now, yeah.
So what was going on? Like, so you're like, you signed an SST and you're 20, 21? Who put out the big record that you guys did?
Epic.
So what was happening when you got there? What year was that?
We actually signed in 1989 to Epic, which was sort of predated everybody else doing it.
Really?
Yeah, in fact, I remember they were putting us on metal compilations, and there really wasn't the sort of grunge genre.
Yeah, it's weird because in retrospect, I don't know if it was a genre. Was it really?
No, it's just
because you guys were rock bands. I mean, like Pearl Jam is a rock band. Nirvana is a rock band with a few pop chords.
Yeah, I mean, like most things, it was a media construct.
Well, but was there a community?
Well, it was a small city, so you knew everybody. Musically, it seemed to us that everybody sort of had their own thing going.
So when you guys are doing that stuff, when that scene is happening, I mean, what's your relationship with? Because I know you worked a bit with some of Nirvana, right?
I did, yeah. That's how I actually started making solo records. Was Kurt and I were friends, and we decided to try and make an EP of Leadbelly covers. Leadbelly being someone that we both liked a lot. We were sitting around listening to him one day and thought, hey, we should do a record of this stuff.
Why not?
And Sub Pop agreed to put it out.
Yeah.
And we booked some time in the studio, and about an hour into the first day in the studio, we kind of looked at each other and thought, maybe this was like a half-baked idea, So we finished like one or two songs and then just decided to shelve it. And
which ones? Which songs? Because they covered that one, right? That's sort of an off-the-beaten track one. Which one did they do? In the Pines?
Yeah, which is also the song that we did together, which ended up being on my first solo record. That one and one other one, I can't remember what it was called, but that was the one that, we were like, hey, this one's good. And after we told Sub Pop we weren't going to finish making this thing, they said to me, why don't you make a solo record? And that was the catalyst for me learning how to
do it,
how to play guitar.
I remember that. Oh yeah, is that where you learned? Yeah,
it was because of that.
See, like, you're one of those guys, and I've talked to people before where musicians, like, you can be a fan of like a few of the records, but then when you sit down with them, you're like, oh man, they got 90 out. I missed that. I missed that one record, like 20 records.
Yeah, man, I have way too many records. So
no, but you keep working.
Well, no choice.
If you had a choice, would you stop?
If I won the lotto, I might just sit on a beach somewhere.
A lotto.
Yeah, the big dream.
Yeah, the lotto hope. So, when you were in Seattle, when did the drug start then?
Well, was always partial to drugs, even when I lived in Eastern Washington. But
yeah, what were you getting in Eastern Washington?
Everything you get
anywhere.
Yeah.
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 But you were sort of there, like that tar shit preceded the meth shit, right?
Yeah, and for me, both
worked out.
Yeah.
you gotta be up and you gotta be down.
Yeah, simultaneously, they're part of my story.
Yeah. Did you find, because I was trying to kind of tap into, like, because I listen to Gargoyle, and those, I tend to like I like those last two cuts, the First Day of Winter and Old Swan, on the new record.
Oh, thanks.
And I like, there's always been the thing about your voice, but not just about your voice. It doesn't matter. It doesn't seem to matter who you're playing with. There's this, what did I write down? Me and my poetic impulse. I said, the tone of sound, you can feel the Pacific Northwest, the haunting comfort of the weight of the gloomy sky. And I said, he's an existential Viking. There you go. There's your blurb. Do you need a blurb for Gargoyle?
I just got it. Thanks, man.
But I think there is something to that. Don't you ever? I mean, there's a place you go emotionally with the way you sing, and also with the chords you use, and even over the years, whatever song it is, it creates this space, man. I mean, I don't know how to ask an artist about that, but do you feel that? Do you feel where that came from? Do you think that some of that had to do with Washington or dope or what?
I don't know. I mean, speaking of box sets, one of the first things that I actually heard that sort of informed where I would go with my own records, I was working in a warehouse for a chain of record stores in Seattle, and I had made 3 records with the Trees already.
Yeah.
But again, I wasn't writing songs or doing any of that stuff, and I saw this Nick Drake box set called Fruit Tree. And on the cover, it's just a picture of him like in a long overcoat, smoking a cigarette, like walking on a beach or next to a lake or something. It's a black and white photo, and I thought, Fruit Tree.
Huh.
What is this? And I asked the guy who worked there, and he goes, oh man, this stuff is great. And he made me a cassette of Nick Drake, Tim Buckley, and Leonard Cohen, all 3 of who I'd never heard before.
How old were you?
23.
Oh, that was
24.
It. The Portal.
Yeah, and so that really spoke to me in a way that very few things had before. That type of music, and I want to say maybe within 6 months I had written the songs for my first solo record and made that record. So it was really sort of my version of that stuff.
Sure.
If
you were under the influence and not in your own voice yet necessarily.
Right.
Yeah.
And could barely play 3 chords on the guitar to write these songs.
So that was it.
That was it. And I mean, everything I've done since then sort of, it's basically the same, but, with a little bit more artistry, I guess. So I've been really lucky to play with guys who are actually really proficient and great artists. So.
Well, you are. You're a great singer.
Oh, thanks.
But like Nick Drake, I was just talking to another dude about that today. I think I just picked up his 3rd album. That song, somebody asked me about which songs make me cry consistently. And that song, Time Has Told Me.
That's beautiful, yeah.
Oh, my God. It didn't end well for that guy.
No, it didn't. But I guess it doesn't really end well for everybody.
No.
So.
The end is not good. You just hope it's fast. Yeah. And I guess if you decide on it, it's if you do it correctly, it might be pretty quick.
Yeah.
Do you find that, I guess when you listen to Nick Drake, there's that element where you can hear the weight of I don't know if it's sad. I guess it's sadness. There's definitely a space that's created, and you do it too, that it feels like it could be sadness, but it isn't. It's almost like embracing a certain darkness. I mean, do you ever feel like what you're doing is like literally saving your life?
Well, yeah, for a long time I wouldn't have copped to that, but I think that it's true.
Right.
It's given me an outlet for whatever these, ideas and thoughts, and give me a place to sort of create this alternate reality that's in a song or a record.
So cushions it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a big dark cushion.
That's the other blurb. Big dark cushion.
I'm trying to help you out.
It's working.
Did you find that? Did you find, you know? And I don't talk about this much, but I'm always curious about it because I don't talk to too many people that have had a long experience with dope. But do you find that, like, because I've known a couple of dudes that I don't think they could have had the perception that they had without it.
You know, that's so hard to say, really.
Is it?
Well, I mean,
because I was never a dope guy. I did a few times. It didn't take. I'm probably lucky.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
You know, that's like.
Well, you've done it both. You've written songs on and off.
I have, and I've done records that I thought were really good on, and I've done records that I thought were really good off, and I've done records that couldn't come out because they were so bad when I was on. You know, I mean, ultimately it's a
crapshoot. It's a gamble.
Well, yeah, it's a gamble, and you know, my experience with that stuff is ultimately not a positive one because of the, you know, damages.
You got pretty strung out?
Done to my existence.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But, I mean, really, to be honest about drugs, the only drugs I ever did that sort of enhanced my abilities, I thought, wasn't really dope, but weed at one time, like, made me do stuff that I never would have done otherwise. I quit smoking weed for about 5 years, and then around the time I made my second solo record, Whiskey, I decided to smoke weed, and it made me do some stuff that I had never, you know, thought about doing, and of course it turned on me quickly, like all drugs.
Well, yeah, because like if you've got the bug, you're just going to do it all day long.
Well, anything I ever did, that's all I ever did. You know, after the first time it wore off, I was doing it again.
Sure,
so.
It's your job.
But and then there was a brief period of time when, and I shouldn't even say this because I don't in any way advocate it,
right?
Because ultimately it was really damaging as well. But there was a period of time when I thought, like, you know, this meth thing is really working for me artistically. I'm really getting a lot done. But those are really the only two, you know.
Well, I didn't get, like, I definitely was, you know, absorbed with weed in a big way. But, like, meth, I've done both meth and dope. And, like, meth, like, I get it. You know, there's at least a feeling of clarity.
Yeah, definitely. Ultra clarity.
And, you know, there is an excitement to it, certainly. But it just really comes down to, I guess, whether you want to risk your teeth and
your mental faculties.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and it's a dirty drug. It's dirty. Yeah, it's like it's just non-organic.
Non-organic indeed. As chemical as they come.
Yeah. So, okay, so you do the solo records. Now, how did the relationship with Josh start?
Well,
Josh Homme.
He lived in Seattle in early, maybe like 94. He was living in Seattle in 95.
Yeah.
Going to college, he had quit Caius and was trying to...
Fucking Caius, what a band, dude.
Great band.
Weren't they?
Yeah, fantastic.
Wow.
And...
he was trying to get on the straight and narrow?
Yeah, he was trying to get on the straight and narrow. His brother lived in Seattle, and he was enrolled in University of Washington.
Yeah.
I had never met him, but I was a fan of Caius, and the bass player in the Screamy Trees knew Josh from something they had done together.
Yeah.
And we were looking to get a second guitar player, and he ended up saying yes, he would do it. And so he was actually already in the band by the time I met him.
In your band?
Yeah. They had rehearsed with him and everything, and then I came one day and he was there. So
he seems, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it was obvious right away that he had like way more on the ball than any of us. It was just sort of playing these, you know, rhythm guitar parts, but we got along really well. And eventually, we were both living down here. He asked me to sing on the first Queen's record, but I was in long-term rehab at that point. I couldn't get out.
Like 6 months?
Actually went almost a year.
For the dope?
Yeah.
Everything.
Everything.
Yeah. And you couldn't get out to sing?
I couldn't get out to sing. And by the time we made the second record, I did quite a bit of singing on that one.
Right.
And then the next couple, I've actually been on all of them except for the first one.
So when you were in a year rehab, did that stick?
It did, yeah, for a few years. And then
So no.
well, it didn't stick forever.
Yeah.
But what does?
I know. Are you sober now or not?
I am, yeah.
Yeah? Like working it or just...
I'm working it, yeah.
Oh, good, man. That's good.
That's pretty much the only thing that...
You feel better?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. It's a little more freedom, huh?
Yeah.
And no more... The job is over.
Lots more freedom.
So, like, it seems to me like, when I look at the stuff you did that... you definitely get a tremendous amount of respect from the community in a lot of different ways, in a way that not a lot of singers do or rock performers do. Like, it seems like the alt acts, the hipster kids love you, the fucking hardcore, alt rockers love you, and then the hard rock dudes fucking love you. Like, you have this ticket to, or this like ability to, because your instrument is so solid, that you can work with all these different people. That's kind of an amazing thing. Do you recognize that?
I don't know if I recognize the love you just described, but I recognize the opportunity that I've had, to work with all kinds of different people. And
Guns N' Roses guys.
Well, Duff's a good friend of mine.
Yeah,
he's a Seattle guy too. And,
he is, huh?
Yeah.
And that, but that's a whole other world. I mean, there's differences in these worlds. Like, there's differences in the worlds, in my mind, maybe not in yours or maybe not in, but there's a difference in the Guns N' Roses circle and the Dinosaur Jr. circle.
Well, yeah.
They seem to be different orbits. Like, rock, at Los Angeles, Hollywood rock and roll is specific. I mean, and I think that, Josh is sort of, in between those sometimes, but he's definitely a hard rock guy. But then when you think about Jay's hard rock as hell, but it's like his own weird thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there definitely are differences in the specific,
communities,
I guess. But that doesn't mean that people don't,
hang out.
Interact with people.
that's weird, because as a guy who likes music and as somewhat of a fan and not of a lot of different people, you get this weird assumption that you guys are like comic book people, like you're like superheroes of some kind, and there are these different factions that but behind the scenes, I've learned after talking to people, it's like you pass in the hallway or whatever the hallway is or whatever that represents, and like, what are you working on? I got a thing going. It's like it's not. There's a difference between the front room and the back room,
Well, I think, that a lot of that kind of perception is probably because of the sort of mainstream success of one band compared to like the sort of sustained different kind of success of a different kind of band, you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
I'm just thinking of the difference between Guns N' Roses and Dinosaur Jr. now.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's music, and you guys you come in contact with people from all different kinds of bands.
But you did a couple records with Isabel from Belle and Sebastian?
I did. I made 3 records with her.
But now, were you guys in a relationship?
No.
How does that happen? See, that's one of those things where it's like, you're a singer and, she's it's like it makes sense, but it seems 2 different worlds, doesn't it? Or not to you?
Well, I mean, I was a fan of Belle and Sebastian, but it was definitely, not in my direct realm.
Yeah.
Not the kind of...
you weren't hanging out.
Not hanging out.
Right.
She got in contact with me via a record company or management or something, wanted me to sing on one song, which I did, and then we ended up meeting in person and became friends and ended up making all these records together.
Pretty records.
Thank you.
You make pretty records with her.
Well, I agree. Thanks.
And which one of the record you did where there was a lot of collaboration? Like, I don't know the record, but I did some reading about it. What is it, Bubblegum, that record? Was that? Yeah, it was your record.
Yeah.
And like there was a shit ton of people on there.
Yeah, I made that while I was playing with the Queens, so all those guys were on it. And
was PJ Harvey on it?
She sang on a couple songs, yeah.
Are you pals with her?
We know each other.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say we're pals, but I'm a huge fan of what she does. I mean, she's the greatest.
She's something, right?
Yeah.
And what happened? So how did you manage to? Are you married?
I've been married a couple times. I'm in the process of ending my second marriage right now.
Yeah, I've been through a couple. You got kids?
No.
Me neither. We did it. Yeah, we won, man. Don't ever look at it differently. Okay. Oh wait, before we get to the new record, the Afghan Wigs, they were a band that I remember, enjoying a couple of their records. And I know they did a new one recently, and I know that Greg's out talking to people, and I haven't talked to him because I'm nervous. I get nervous about musicians sometimes. But you guys known each other a long time, and you work together? Because I listened to a little bit of one of the records you did with him.
Yeah, I mean, we played on a bunch of records together, and we're good friends.
How did you guys come together with you? Because you record under another band name, right?
Well, we recorded with his band, Twilight Singers, sang with those guys, played on a few of their records. He's played on a bunch of my records. We made a record together called The Gutter Twins.
Right, that one.
Yeah, and we...
Were you just like-minded? You just get along?
Yeah, we're just, real good friends.
Yeah? Is that from Seattle days?
We knew each other in Seattle, but we didn't really hang out until we both lived down here, like in the late 90s again.
Man. Tough racket. Music. Because when I'm going over your stuff and I'm planning to talk to you, there's just, so many different side projects, so many different bands. You've sung on fucking everything. Have you met most of your heroes?
I've met quite a few of them, yeah.
Like who else?
Well, one of my first heroes was a guy named Greg Sage, who was in a band from Portland, Oregon called The Wipers. Yeah. And I want to say it was the second show I ever did was opening for him. We became friends. He was also an influence on my first solo record, along with that other stuff I mentioned, because he had made a solo record that was heavily acoustic, and that was, I actually heard that before I heard Nick Drake and that stuff. So he, I spent a lot of time with him back in the 80s. Mm-hmm. Jeffrey again.
Yeah. Rollins,
sure, did shows with him. And, know him. He's great.
He's a real character, man.
Yeah, he's one of the greatest. I just remember before I actually knew Henry, playing a show with them at the old I-Beam in San Francisco, and we played. And of course, the Connor brothers got in a fist fight on stage.
With each other?
With each other, yeah.
Oh my God.
That was the only person they would fight with, was each other.
Yeah.
And then I was off the side of the stage, Rollins band getting ready to go up, and Henry was in full view of the audience and everything, doing push-ups or 4-count burpees, working out on the side of the stage. I was like, man, this guy is...
He means business.
He is something else. Of course he is,
Yeah. Is he doing all right? Have you talked to him lately?
I saw him, I want to say, maybe it was 2010.
Oh, it's been a while.
Yeah. But we have, a lot of people in common.
Yeah.
Sure
he's an earnest motherfucker, man.
He is, yeah. Great taste in music.
Oh, he knows everything. Yeah. I talked to him once and he gave me all the, I did a series of shows with him, spoken word things, and he brought me a hard drive, said, here's some stuff. And I'm like, holy shit. Where the fuck do you even where did this come from? Just studio versions of things. You're like, what? What is this? Yeah, man, he's something else. So on Gargoyle, this is you've done. This is what, your 10th record?
10th record with my name on it.
Now, one thing I noticed, and I noticed this because maybe I'm wrong, but I recently got sent a promo version. It's not. It hasn't come out yet of Ray Davies' new record from the Kings. And I don't know if it's because I'm 53, and that like I just listened to Amy Mann's new record, and she's around our age. What, you a little younger than me? What are you, 52?
52, yeah.
That people it's. I guess the point I'm making. It seems that your voice and your songs sound like they're deeper and have more wisdom, and that your own kind of vulnerability and fragility of just being where we are in life, you can feel that alongside of this is a good thing, don't misunderstand it, that you can feel that alongside of what you've always been doing, and it adds another dimension to it. Are you aware of that? Do you feel like you're writing differently now?
Well, I definitely feel like I'm better at it now because it's easier. I don't know if I'm just kidding myself or what.
Right.
But as far as like what the end result is, I don't really think about it.
No.
I just sort of like go on instinct, and
and
I know that because I'm less critical of what I do now, I feel like it's getting better.
That's it. That's what she said too. It's like I give less of a shit about what people think of me. Basically, I'm paraphrasing, but like once that, it's what a fucking relief that is. If there's any gift to living, continuing to live, when you see people in our peers pass at young ages, is that eventually you stop giving a fuck about certain things.
Indeed.
That's a fucking gift. I gotta make sure I remember that. Because there were a lot of things when I was younger that seemed like an awfully big deal that really it's just sort of like, what the fuck?
Oh, man. Everything was a big deal to me when I was younger, and now nothing is, so.
But you can't, there's no way to learn that before it happens. Who's going to tell you that? It's like, hey, you know what? You shouldn't give a shit so much. And when fuck you.
Yep.
This is life or death here, man.
Fuck you.
Right? What do you know, old man? Who played on this record?
Alan Johannes plays on most of it. He's the guy I've made records with since Bubblegum. Produces but a lot of the music for this one was recorded and written by a guy named Rob Marshall, a British guy.
How'd you find him?
He actually found me.
Yeah.
Asked me to do something for this project that he was doing, and I recorded some vocals, and I heard it first and I was like, yeah, this is cool, and I could do something with this, and I wrote some words and recorded some vocals for his thing.
Yeah.
And then he sent me an email saying, I really like what you did. I'd like to write something for you someday. And I was like, okay, well, I filed that away, and then I was sort of running into a wall trying to finish this new record, and I was not really digging what I was doing, and I thought, hey, maybe that
call in a favor.
Yeah, maybe that guy's got something for me. And so he ended up sending me a whole bunch of stuff, which was, again, just as good as the stuff I had done for him, and it was really easy to write too. And
oh, cool.
Ended up half the record was his stuff.
Well, I appreciate the fact that it's a reasonable amount of songs.
Instead of
90. For some reason people who do CDs are like, we're going to put 18 songs on there. It's like, dude, the records were good for a reason. Make some choices.
Yeah, but I thought about just doing 8 songs this time.
Yeah.
But, 10 seems to be.
Yeah, Amy did like 10 on hers too. I was like, thanks. Because it feels like, you made some decisions. You know what I mean?
Well, in my case, it's just using exactly what I have.
That's all I got.
That's all I got.
That's all I got.
Thank
for this
God
one.
It's enough.
So are you going to go out and tour, or what are you going to do?
Yeah, I'm gonna tour in May, June, July in Europe, and then maybe some state stuff in August, and then back to Europe for a couple months.
How you holding up in Europe? How's the crowds?
Well, it's the only place I have a crowd is Europe, so I managed to.
Nothing wrong with that.
It's worked for me for several years, so I'm lucky.
I don't know what it is or why that is, but it seems like you can hold on to the community longer. With being, somebody who's specific and has specific fans. That seems like you can continue to build there. Here, like, I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, I don't either. But I've managed to, I tour every year in Europe and pay my bills from that. So I'm
You're all right.
blessed.
Yeah, blessed. Good. We're still alive. Well, it was good talking to you, Mark.
Nice talking to you.
Mark Lanegan. Intense. Don't forget, for sounds you can feel from a speaker you'll hardly notice, you need Playbase from Sonos. Its low-profile design practically disappears beneath your TV while filling your entire room with epic audio. Playbase adds pulse-pounding sound to whatever's playing, from movies and sports to TV, gaming, and music. And you don't even have to read the manual. The Sonos app guides you through every step of the setup. One power cord and one optical cord are all it takes. Everything sounds better on Playbase. See for yourself at Sonos.com. That's SONOS.com. Go to WTFpod.com. Check out the tour dates. Listen to the podcast. Get on the mailing list. No music today because there's no electricity at my house. I have no guitars. There's nothing but paintbrushes here. Is there anything that'll make a sound? This is a